Hello guys, this is Max. Welcome to my channel. If this is the first time, welcome. I'm a sport therapist and an osteopath here in Barcelona. We try to teach you the best technique to use with your patient, with your client, and with some help of anatomy and technique that comes from osteopathy, that comes from active release technique, that comes from deep tissue. Today we work mostly on the cross line and on the lateral line. This muscle that make part of the lateral line are the glute medius, the tensor fascia lata, the IT band, the adductor complex, the quadriceps. And we're going to start our massage, try to open up the tripod end of the foot and try to release all this flexor of the foot. So we do some circulatory mobilization of the ankle, working on the calf and working on the tibialis anterior. Tibialis anterior that when we consider the fascia and the tensegrity system that distribute tension and compression to the whole body, it's a really important muscle to the health of the knee, and it's really important because sometimes it's a part of compensatory pattern such as overpronation, where the foot rolls inward and the weak gluteal muscle can cause tension in the tibialis anterior, leading to pain and discomfort. That overpronation is a common pattern that can occur due to overcompensation in other muscles, leading to further imbalance, and that can create pain in the ankle, pain in the knee, and eventually pain in the hips. Now we are trying to liberate the first layer of the muscle. You can see a really deep work, try to release all the muscle in the foot, and you can see some active release technique to open up all the flexor of the toes, but especially the big one, that is the hallucis longus, and we want to make that big toe strong. Big toes, the stronger the big toe, the stronger is your connection with the ground and the power you can create when you run, when you lift, because it's connected with all the extensor of the spine. So if you have a strong big toe, you will have probably strong glutes and strong connection with your that creates stability in your pelvis. Now we have some more work on the flexor and on the extensor. And I really like find different technique for the foot. The foot, in this case, we are trying to spread the toes. We know that the muscle of the toes they got to be spread, and most of the time, because we have really tight shoes, our toes stick together and they don't really grab the floor. So the best tip I can give you is grab the floor with your foot. Make that flexor strong. Increase your presence on the ground. And here some work on a tibialis. Again, we try to find different position to work comfortably on the tibialis. You can use different tools. You can use your thumb. You can use your elbow. And from there, it's pretty easy to move into the rectus femoris, into the quadriceps. The quadriceps are a group of muscles that make up for the front of the thigh and are responsible for extending the knee. Fascia can become tight and restricting the movement, leading to imbalance and compensatory patterns such as tight hip flexor and weak hamstring. Why? Because when we have, for example, a weak iliopsoas, we probably have a tight quadriceps that have to activate to be able to, for example, to run. You know, when you find people with really weak iliopsoas, they have really tight quadriceps or tibialis anteriors. It's part of the chain, that is a chain reaction when you start running and when you have a really weak iliopsoas. So you want to activate and release this muscle And we know that when the quadriceps is tight, even his opposite muscle is tight. So it doesn't never come by itself. There is always a couple relationship with a muscle and the opposite muscle in the segment. Now we are working on adductor. We are addressing the adductor. We have a group of muscles that on the inner thigh that help bring your legs together. Generally, we have fascial restriction and adductor can cause pain and limit movement, and the compensatory pattern here is caused by a weak gluteal muscle, and poor pelvic alignment can exacerbate this restriction. So it's very easy to find people with a really weak gluteal muscle to have really tight hamstring, and that can create pain in the groin. And it's really, and that's one of the problems when you have, for example, soccer player playing and have a really weak lateral sling. Lateral sling that as I said, is created by gluteus medius, tensor fascia lata, iliotibial band, adductor complex, and quadrato lumborum. Quadrato lumborum, in general, we consider the contralateral quadrato lumborum. Generally, when we work on the glutes or on the adductor, we consider the contralateral quadrato lumborum as a muscle that can activate and create extension of the hips. And we don't want that to happen. We want the glute maximum to create extension of the hip, not the quadrato lumborum. But now let's go back to this technique that I found is really helpful to release the adductor. I think this is one of the best positions you can have your client for working on adductor and adductor longus. It's really helpful because you can move the lower limb, you can create tension and break all that adhesion that can be tense because of hypoxia, because of overuse, because of poor alignment of the hips. And you can see how the client is kind of suffering out of this movement. And you can even go into the pectineo, you can go into the gracilis, and really try to recreate and release all that tension. Sometimes when you release tension in the adductor, you can even release tension into the hamstring, because there is a really close connection between the two. And here you can, it's really amazing this position because you can work almost the leg completely for 360 degrees. And then we're moving into the gluteals and the paraspinal muscle. As I was saying, we're not just working on the lateral sling, we're working on the cross sling that is created by the gluteal maximo, the contralateral latissimus dorsi, that you will see some work happening in a little bit, the thoracolumbar fascia, and the contralateral internal oblique and ipsilateral external oblique. So what are the pattern here? When you have the glutes are a group of muscles in your buttock that help with hip extension and rotation. Fascial restriction in the glute can cause pain and discomfort, and compensatory patterns such as tight hip flexor, weak core muscle, and poor pelvic alignment can exacerbate this restriction. Tight hip flexor and weak core muscle can cause overcompensation in the muscle, leading to even further imbalances. So what we're doing right now is trying to release all this muscle, and especially the glute medius that you just see, and the QL. So the glute medius is a muscle that can, as you see, is important for the lateral sling, and is important. The glute maximus is important for the cross sling. So the work them together can help to have a more stabilized hips, and of course you don't want to forget about the QL that we just see some work. Sometimes you want to work the QL in cross friction, and I like to use my elbow. I like to go exactly in that space between the last rib and the nominate, and be able to go deep into the different part of the quadriceps lumborum that is has three different ends. So you know you can work in different position, but this position for me is the best because you can even stretch it. And like I was saying, we are working now on the rhomboid, and we are trying to mobilize the rhomboid. Here we have here we work in the rhomboid. Why? Because we are like pay attention to the cross sling. Sorry. So the thoracolumbar, the opposite thoracolumbar fascia, the mobilization of the paraspinal to be able to create some more movement into the spine. So here we're working on latissimus dorsi, that is generally connected with the opposite gluteus maximus, and here we're working directly on the sacrum, trying to contronutate the sacrum and working on that multifidus muscle. She's pushing me, push against my body, and I was like try to give more movement and try to kind of move create a posterior pelvic tilt. Now we're gonna move in a yoga position. Why this? Because in this way all the facet of the joint of the spine were in flexion, so we have a kind of a different kind of work. We can still working on a longissimo, we can still working on the rotator. So talking about the pattern of the cross-link system, increased risk of groin or hip injury due to reduced cross-body stability when the cross-link system is weak or dysfunctional. So increased reliance on the pectoral muscle to create rotational stability during throwing or swinging movement when the contralateral latissimus dorsi is weak or dysfunctional. So we are really, when we give a massage, we got to think, what are the problem of our clients? Does she has a tight pectoral muscle? Why is that? Because she's doing a sport where she has a lot of rotational movement. Is that caused only because she has a pec minor that is tight, or it can be the contralateral weakness of the latissimus dorsi that can create that? And the same thing when the contralateral gluteus maximus is weak. So there is this connection between contralateral gluteus maximus and the latissimus dorsi and the pectoral muscle that can be really interesting to look into when you have a client that works a lot and do a sport in rotational. So right now we are actually working on the longitudinal part of our work. It's a work that is mostly in flexion and extension of the spine. As I was saying, this is an extension, and here we have the flexion. Extension of the spine, which is the opposite of the position we had before, and here we have again the flexion. When you find a point that is really tight, that is the fascia is super restrict, you want to stay there and try to work on that part. And this, guys, is how I approach the massage when I'm thinking about fascia and compensatory pattern. So pay attention when you give a massage, and if you like my video and you want to see a really completely kind of video on BBW models, on my deep tissue lovers on Patreon, subscribe. They're just creative video, but if you like this kind of video, stay here and subscribe. Thank you.